Hello, welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing inside Madison Square Garden late on Friday night. I'm with Tim Bontemps. Tim McMahon couldn't be bothered. We just watched the Knicks absolutely demolish the Celtics. I don't even know what the final score was, to be honest with you. It's irrelevant. The series is over, and then
final score was the Knicks were up by 41 in the third quarter, and Joe Mazzulla pulled the plug before the third quarter was over. That's all you need to know.
And Tom Thibodeau pulled the plug like 25 minutes later.
Yes, it was. I was just dreading the inevitable discussion about Tibbs and minutes until everybody got successfully out of the game. But look, I mean, this has been the weirdest series I've ever covered. You like to say that the NBA, there's never such thing as a weird game. Every game in this series was weird. The Celtics felt like they should have won basically the first 5 games.
Yeah.
The one thing we thought wasn't going to happen was that the Knicks could win by a lot. The first 11 games of the playoffs, the Knicks had never won by a lot. They never led by a lot.
They didn't win by a lot against the Pistons.
And then they absolutely obliterate the Celtics. And look, I mean, there's a lot to talk about the Knicks. Knicks-Pacers is going to be fascinating, but this very well could be the end of one of the real dominant eras of a team for the Celtics team, and it's hard for me, having spent a lot of time around the Celtics, obviously you have too, to think much about anything else than, was this the end of this group?
Yeah, we were walking out. We were walking out of the locker room, and Al Horford went down the tunnel, and I don't know. You know, Al Horford's a great Celtic. I don't know. That may have been it. You know, I'm sure it was on his mind. I don't. You know, the players, you know, acknowledge that there's. You know, Derek White said the same team's not going to be back. You know, they know that. They know. They don't know how it's going to play. I don't think anybody knows.
Look, I wrote about it earlier this week. That injury for Jayson Tatum is one of the most significant injuries in the history of the league. When you look at what it could potentially do to this Celtic team. We've talked about what could potentially happen with Giannis this summer. We've obviously talked a lot about what could happen with Kevin Durant this summer. The Celtics have a lot of older players, and their best player is going to miss, if not most of next season, all of next season. And they already were looking at being an extraordinarily expensive team. This could be like the Warriors in 2020 when they wound up with the second pick in the draft. If they decide to move on from their older players, get a ton of stuff for them, and reset around Jayson Tatum, who, by the way, will come back even if he misses all next season as a 28-year-old guy who's still in his prime, who could still be really good. But that's what makes this so crazy.
Yeah. 5
days ago, we were walking in here for Game 4. I thought the Knicks were going to lose the next 3 games. I think you thought the Knicks were going to lose the next 3 games.
I don't know if I thought the next 3, but I thought the Celtics absolutely could still win the series.
I just thought the Celtics were winning the series.
Yeah.
I thought they were going on to the finals. I still thought they were the dominant team in the league,
yeah.
Or at least in the East. And 5 days later, their season's over. They lost here by 1,000 points. Jayson Tatum's got a torn Achilles, and the whole future of the franchise is up in the air.
And by the way, like, the players and coaches were like, we didn't think this was going to happen. You know, we didn't think we had a lot of fatigue. Like, we liked where we were. Even down 2-0, they thought they were okay.
Yeah, they were up by 20 in each of the first 2
games. Yeah, they like this wasn't like, oh, we saw this coming.
No.
You know, you know, maybe I saw them going out eventually to the Knicks in a game that wasn't decided by 2 points. Maybe I could see the Knicks winning a game convincingly here. If you'd have told me tonight that this game wouldn't have gone to clutch time, I would have said, okay, I believe the Knicks would play much better than they played in Game 5.
Yes.
But the way they just collapsed. And I will say this, the Knicks played awesome defense in this game.
That was the best half of defense, in particular the first half, this Knicks team has ever played. That was the best half of defense they've played under Tom Thibodeau by a mile. I have a coaching friend who was here at the game. He said they didn't miss a single coverage the entire first half.
All you have to know is Deuce McBride got a chase down block.
Yeah, well, but it was everything. It was Mitchell Robinson flying out to the corner to stop Jaylen Brown from shooting a wide open 3. They were completely on a string and engaged. Everything they weren't in Game 5. And look, the first few minutes of the game was some real danger time for the Knicks. We talked about it before the game. I thought it was really important that the Knicks get off to a good start because this crowd was juiced.
Oh, my God.
But this crowd also was on a knife's edge and ready to go, oh, my God, the Knicks are going to collapse.
I understand why the Knicks fans were so nervous because they have only seen disappointment for 25 years.
Yes.
But they were nervous.
No, everybody was nervous.
I was like, guys, you're up.
And the Knicks were nervous to start the game. Like, they hit a couple baskets, and I thought it was really indicative of the way Karl Towns played. Karl Towns, for as much as Jalen Brunson is the best player on the Knicks, Karl Towns is really the bellwether for the Knicks. And when he gets sideways, like he did in Game 5, the Knicks get sideways. And you could see in the first quarter, he was trying really hard. right? He's chasing for fouls. There's
Yeah.
a play down here where he has Jaylen Brown on the block, and he tries to go through Jaylen Brown to the other side of the basket and lets Kristaps Porzingis block him. He then gets a foul that negates a three-point shot, sticking his leg out, trying to catch Drew Holiday for no reason, right? It was just silly stuff.
Yeah.
But once he got locked in, they got a little early lead. He settled down. And then once they got cooking with a lead, the Celtics just didn't have anything to stop.
Also, it was a great Josh Hart game. He had a triple-double. Only the third Knicks triple-double in the playoff history, I think I read.
Wow.
And OG Anunoby had a good OG Anunoby game.
Yeah, I mean, those guys were all great. They were flying around.
Yeah, I mean,
they were honest. And Jalen Brunson barely did anything in the first half, and they were up by 27.
So as we're doing this right now, it's around midnight. 7th Avenue, just outside.
Oh,
just outside the Garden.
A literal sea of humanity.
How long are we going to have to be in here until we can safely go outside?
I'm leaving as soon as the game's over. And
the game is over, my friend.
Well, I mean, as soon as we're done with the podcast.
Okay.
Podcast is over. It's been a long day.
Yeah. Good luck getting out of here.
It's going to look. It's a scene, and I mean, look, the Knicks fans. This place is the best place in the league to watch a game, and Boston Garden is a close second. And the fans here, as you said, they've waited 25 years to have the Knicks make it back to the conference finals. This is a team, remember, that was a lot like the Celtics. Like the Celtics broke through and won last year, but it was always like the Knicks, the 90s Knicks, the 90s Jazz, and this Celtics team until they won. That was most playoff games without winning a title, most playoff series without winning a title. I mean, the Knicks from 99 to 2000 won a playoff series every single season.
1990.
Well, I think it was 9 straight years.
Right, okay.
But they made it to the conference finals.
You said 99 to 2000. So
sorry, yes. Yeah. I think it was 90. I meant 92. 92 to 2000.
Yeah.
They made the conference finals several times.
The
Riley
Van Gundy years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a lot of great teams and never quite won. And it's why they show the Larry Johnson 4-point play all the time here. They show John Starks all the time here.
They're going to show the Miles McBride chase down block.
Oh, I mean, look, this Knicks team is going to be like that.
The other thing is there's 4 days off now before, and there's a weekend. And the Knicks fans are just going to have a weekend.
Just going to be a 5-day party in New York City. Before game 1 is here, the Knicks have home court advantage in the conference finals. I didn't think the Knicks were going to win a game maybe in this series before it started.
Yeah.
I mean, and now things have totally opened up for them. By the way, there's going to be people here, speaking of the celebrations, they're going to already be planning going to the finals. And not so fast, my friend. To quote our guy Lee Corso.
That's right.
The Pacers are awesome.
That's right.
This is going to be an awesome series.
Both these teams have earned their way here. No matter what injuries happened, they kicked the other team's asses.
No question. I mean, look, any questions you had about the Knicks in this series, the way they came out today and took care of business
and
was
again,
unbelievably
I want to say
impressive.
that the Celtics down the line were saying this after the game.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
They were like, look, we hate what happened to Jayson. We feel terrible right now. The Knicks did a great job.
No, yeah,
they were
for sure.
extremely complimentary.
Well, Kristaps Porzingis, who obviously was dealing with this illness and did not play well, he obviously is very fond of the Knicks fans and the Knicks and the city. He was very complimentary of both after the game.
I mean, Joe Mazzulla gave like a Valentine to Tom Thibodeau after the game. He was like,
"Well, talk about two guys that are aligned." And we should say, we should have mentioned it. I mean, it's been Tom Thibodeau made the conference finals in his first year as a head coach. He has not made it back since.
That's right.
And he's had a lot of good teams. He's had a lot of playoff.
They got up 1-0, by the way, in that conference finals.
They did. Yes, they did.
To the Heat. I was there. Yeah.
But he's had a lot of years with a lot of success and not getting back to this point. So congrats to him. But I asked Stats Williams during the game, because I grew up as a 90s kid watching the NBA on NBC, watching the Knicks and Pacers. This series will be the 9th time the Knicks and Pacers have played in the last 32 years, which is a lot of times, especially since the Knicks haven't been in the playoffs a lot the last 25 years.
Including a 7-game series last year.
That's right.
Yeah.
No two teams have played more playoff games than the 48 games the Knicks have played the Pacers over those 32 years. And that is an 8 series, including one 5-game series. So that was 48 out of a possible 54 games that those 8 series went. And I think we're looking at another 6 or 7 game series here that's going to be absolutely awesome.
And I would say this, the Pacers game plan is really the same game plan that they had a year ago, which is that they will try to wear the Knicks down in the individual games. They will start doing things in the first quarter with the intent to wear them down in the fourth, which, by the way, the Knicks are killers. They've been killers in clutch time in the playoffs. And the Pacers will operate thinking about wearing them down by game 6 and 7.
That's right.
At the start.
That's
that will
right.
be the Pacers' game plan.
That's right.
And the Knicks' game plan will be get to the fourth quarter and hand it over to number 11. That's the way it'll be. So
And by the way, if you go back to Pacers Cavs, what did we talk about the whole time? The Pacers had guys to go at Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, and the Cavs didn't. That is not the case in this series. Andrew Nembhard, who's a terrific defender, he got destroyed by Jalen Brunson last year before he got hurt. Brunson was unbelievable in that series. The Knicks have Mikal Bridges, who is a pretty good matchup for Tyrese Halliburton. They've got OG Anunoby, who's a pretty good matchup for his former teammate, Pascal Siakam. Like, this is a much different Knicks team than that team was last year, missing Julius Randle. Obviously, OG was hurt by the end of that series. Jalen Brunson was hurt by the end of that series. But I think it's got a chance to be an incredible series.
I agree.
And I thought it was vital for New York in particular to win this game today for the exact reason you said. They get 5 days off. They obviously play their top guys a ton of minutes. This has been a grueling series. Now they get 5 days to rest up because that's going to be every other day for 2 weeks. And we have seen repeatedly over the last 2 years, the Pacers, like you said, take it out of teams over 7 games. And if they'd had to go, even if they won in Boston on Monday, turn around and play 2 days later against the Pacers, I don't think the Knicks could have won the series then. This rest is critical.
And there's some big individual matchups in this. I'm not sure, I don't think Halliburton and Brunson will be guarding each other, obviously, but the way they perform is going to drive their teams. Halliburton isn't as high of a points scorer as Brunson is. He distributes a little bit more than Brunson does, but how he goes defines that is clearly the same way
He can tend
Brunson
to disappear sometimes in games.
Yes.
You saw it.
He's hot and cold.
Right. In the Cavs series in games 3 and 4, he combined for 15 points.
That's right.
And then he had 15 points in a row in the second quarter of game 5.
So the way that matchup goes, you're going to have Miles Turner and Karl Towns. Both of those guys can step out and shoot the 3. Both of those guys are a little bit fragile with the way they play. When Turner plays well,
Turner has been unreal in these playoffs. Talk about a guy who's made himself some money.
Yes.
He has made himself some money in these playoffs.
And when Turner plays well, the Pacers usually do well. And Siakam has been great the whole second half of the season. He does a lot of things for them. And then, you're obviously going to have the Knicks wings. Josh Hart, by the way, was absolutely awesome in this series.
Awesome.
And Josh Hart was dinged up a little bit last year as well. He was dealing with some injuries against the Pacers.
Look, this is just it's crazy. I mean, you and I have been covering Eastern Conference playoff games now for a long time, and this really does feel like a turning of a page. In that, again, it hurts to talk about the Celtics like this, given how proud a group they are, and as much as I like individually all those guys who are all great guys, but you kind of have to take them off the board for next year as a contender.
For now.
Well, I don't mean forever, but for now.
Yeah,
and it's hard to assume Tatum is going to be back in the same form next year. I think long term he'll be fine. But the Knicks and Pacers, they're sitting here with teams that you have everybody coming back. Like, you probably have to go into next season at minimum with them and the Cavs as the 3 top teams in the East as of now. Now we'll see what happens.
Yep.
But this could be the start of a new chapter in the East, and I, as a basketball fan, I think this series is going to be awesome.
And I just think what's so refreshing is that this playoffs has been unexpected. I mean, the Knicks were 0-10 against the top teams. They were
0-4 against Boston, and it wasn't competitive.
I know there were some memes about the Celtics raising a banner that said 4-0 against the Knicks in the regular season.
Well, and then they were up 20 in the first 2 games.
I know.
This was the strangest series I've ever covered.
But that said, the Knicks absolutely earned it.
100%.
I
got the job done.
There's people going to talk about the Tatum injury, but they were going to win that game.
Right, they were already up. They were already up 3-1. They played great in that game, and again, they curb stomped the Celtics today.
Absolutely.
I did not think. I thought the Celtics could win the next 2 games. Still coming into today, I did not have this on the board at all. Like, the fact that they were up 41 points late in the third quarter was just. It was truly unbelievable.
I think the Knicks coming into this game had been out. Now, granted, it was largely because of lopsided games in games 3 and 5. The Knicks have been outscored by 20 points in the postseason.
They wound up outscoring the Celtics in the series by 3, and that was with winning this game by 1,000 points.
Yeah.
And they won the series 4-2.
And they won the Pistons series by less than 10 points. Combined.
I mean, it's been that kind of playoffs for them.
Jackson was just telling us that the Knicks led more in this game than they led the entire series.
Oh,
been more.
yeah. I mean, by a long shot.
Yeah.
I mean, they barely were up in any of the other games.
Well, it was a very exciting game here. I was just thinking, I've covered conference finals games in every Eastern Conference city except for Charlotte, Philly, and Washington. Now
New York.
And New York. And so in my 3 years. So now I'll be at the Garden for a conference finals.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I mean, yeah, it's probably...
No one has covered a playoff series, Eastern Conference finals in Charlotte, because it hasn't ever happened.
No.
Philly, how long is Philly since?
It's been 50 years for Washington. It's been 24 years for Philly.
Is there anybody in the media right now who covered the last time Washington was Tony Kornheiser covering the Bullets?
Yeah, last time would have been 79, right?
Was it like down to Kornheiser?
Wilbon.
Was Wilbon around 79?
I mean, I don't know if he was covering. He was at the Post by then, I think. But I don't know if he was. I don't think he was covering the Wizards.
But anyway, I'm looking forward to a conference finals in New York.
Oh, this is just going to be an unbelievable scene, and especially because of this team. Like, this is a team that is much like that '90s Knicks team. Like, people think about New York and they think about glitz and glamour and big star power, but New York fans gravitate towards teams like the Knicks, like stars like Jalen Brunson, a out-of-nowhere, diamond-in-the-rough guy who grinded himself into a superstar player. Like, that is the kind of thing that New York fans eat up. I mean, look, the crazy thing is he's already zoomed past Carmelo Anthony in terms of accomplishments in New York. And the only guy, I was talking to Mike Vaccaro, the legendary New York columnist and most importantly legendary Bonaventure figure.
Oh, I'm glad
before
you got
the
that
series started, and I think the only guys ahead of him in Knick history are Clyde Frazier, Patrick Ewing, and Willis Reed, which is an unbelievable thing to say about a guy who signed here 3 years ago.
I don't know if you count Spike Lee as the authority on this, but Spike was on First Take today, and
he's as good of an authority as anybody.
He was having the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable accomplishment already. Yeah. I mean, 3 years in a row winning a playoff series. This team had won one playoff series this century before he showed up. And, yeah, I mean, this next couple weeks, especially against the Indiana Pacers. Like, this is a team that has so much history here. It's the final TNT series. Reggie Miller is going to be calling all of the games.
That's right.
I'm sure he'll be getting into it with
Spike
Lee.
The last series for TNT.
It's the last series for TNT. You're going to have Charles Barkley and those guys here. You're going to have, I'm sure, Stephen A. will be getting into it with Reggie Miller. I'm sure Spike Lee will be getting into it with Reggie Miller. And you've got Halliburton and Brunson were at WWE last summer. Like, they've got the history of last year's playoffs. There's a lot of fascinating matchups across the board. Like, it's not the series anybody would have imagined we would get a month ago, but I think it's got a chance to be an absolutely awesome basketball series, and I'm fired up to be around for it.
You and I will be here, and McMahon won't be. All right.
That's the best part.
Thank you for listening and watching the Hoop Collective. Thanks to Jackson and Zach, our producers, who came here to the Garden tonight and are going out into humanity. I'm just walking to my hotel. I'll be fine. Thank you to Bontemps as well. We'll talk to you in a couple days.